Well, hello, everybody. I'm Sandra Godley, and it's my delight, my privilege to host another amazing conversation with friends of the Holy Land. It's my pleasure to do this. It's a topic, an area, a subject which I've been fascinated about for a long time and have traveled to the Holy Land. But joining me today is the CEO of this incredible organization, Brendan Metcalfe. And I kind of want him to sort of break down why this organization, Friends of the Holy Land, is so important and the part and role that it plays, because I think this is a wonderful example of how to amplify the message of the Holy Land and how we can get more involved with whatever's going on over there. And they certainly need our help. So I want to welcome Brendan. Big wave to you, Brendan. Hello, hello.
Hello, Sandra. Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me to this conversation. So if I can perhaps talk a little bit about the recent past in the Holy Land. I think that's where an area which is not known to most Christians in the UK is that if you look back about 100 years, Christians made up about 30% of the population of what we would call the Holy Land. We're talking now what is today the West Bank, Gaza, Israel, and Jordan. And since that time, for a variety of reasons, the Christians have diminished remarkably. And today, Christians are only about 1% overall of the population of the Holy Land. And in some of the cities that were formerly a majority Christian cities, such as Bethlehem, which 100 years ago would be at 80% Christian, today it's as little as 12% Christian. Now, why is that important? Well, this is the land where Jesus walked. So for us Christians, it's very important that these communities that were founded by the apostles immediately after Pentecost, as they went out and went forth with their mission, survive. Otherwise, when we look at these holy sites, there could be a situation where there's no active Christian congregation worshipping in those sites, and that would be a terrible thing. That would just turn them into museums. And I think for the wider world as well, I mean, the Holy Land is important to the three Abrahamic faiths, the Muslims, the Jews, and the Christians. And that's always been a balance and a symbiotic relationship in the Holy Land. Yet the Christians are diminishing so quickly that the benefits of their input into those relationships, into a lot of the peace process, into many of the organizations, both education and health particularly, is very much diminished. When the community that supports those efforts and that work are disappearing. So Friends of the Holy Land has its roots in a pilgrimage that visited about 12 years ago and realized what was happening. And it says, look, we need to do something. We need to help directly these Christian communities, help them survive, help them build a future and have hope for the future.
Brendan, I'm fascinated by those numbers that you've said. 1%, 12%. I mean, why has that happened? And has that been a sort of slow process to get to this?
Yes, it's been relatively slow. It's been more accelerated over the last 75 years because of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. I mean, again, it's a very difficult area to understand. And we're not a political organization, so we don't get involved in the politics of the region at all. But it's without a doubt, this conflict, which is the longest running conflict currently monitored by the UN, has had an impact on people's lives. So on the one hand, those that are able to emigrate have emigrated. And on the other hand, there's been, I suppose, the Muslims in particular, but also the Orthodox Jewish people will tend to have larger families. So there's a basic impact that the Christian communities are much diminished. I mean, and that also has led to a great imbalance in the community itself, because the people who can emigrate tend to be those who are in work, those, let's say, between 30 and 50, who have still the ability to work in another country. So that means when they emigrate, that they leave behind their elderly parents who find it difficult to survive without that local network. And on the other hand, the ones who haven't emigrated and have children, you've got a large majority of the population, over 50% of the population in the West Bank, for example, are under the age of 25.
Wow. Okay.
So that's the situation.
That situation seems incredibly, I don't know, almost toxic, really. I can't work out how we in the UK have responded to that and what we can actually do to help with that. Because here we are in the UK, other countries of the world, not actually perhaps realizing the extent of the decline because we're lost in our own challenge with Christianity in our secular environments. But right there in the Holy Land where the stories began, it's dwindling. What can we do? How can we help Christians in the UK and other countries understand what's actually going on?
Well, I think, at Friends of the Holy Land, we have basically 4 objectives to our work in the UK. A very important objective is obviously to pray. Prayer underpins everything we do. You can never underestimate the power of prayer, and people gather together of all denominations in the UK praying for peace in the Holy Land is a wonderful thing. And we do encourage this. We have our own prayer page on our website with regular contribution from church leaders with prayers and reflections. And we also, as we'll hopefully talk about later, put together ecumenical services to pray for peace in the Holy Land. And I think from that place of prayer, then we should learn more. It's very difficult to learn from the secular news what's happening in the Holy Land because it's become a contentious place. It's become a place where it only gets in the news when rockets are firing out of Gaza or there's violence on the border. And people almost, because it's gone on so long, become a little bit deaf to the situation. I think we have to look at what the daily life and the daily challenges of our brothers and sisters are in the Holy Land. How is it that they can survive? How is it that they can thrive and have hope for a future and build a future? Now, we help in a variety of ways. We help fund education for the young people. We help train them and mentor them in building small businesses so they have a future. We help for those who need it with medical expenses because there's no equivalent of the NHS in that part of the world, and medicine is very expensive, and so is hospital care. So raise awareness, speak to in your church, speak to your neighbors, and let them perhaps better understand what is happening on our watch in the Holy Land. I was
going to ask you, Brendan, the feedback that you're getting from people, let's talk about the UK because that's where I'm at now. Are you getting, what kind of response are you getting when you do tell people there's a decline in that storytelling, that actual place where Jesus was born? What's the reaction from people here in the UK? Are they bothered? Is it something that they can relate to? Is it becoming more of a fairy tale? What are they saying to you?
Well, I think it shocks them when they actually engage with it because, first of all, and I've seen this because I bring priests and clergy to the UK, the first shock is that there's an Arab who's a Christian and hasn't converted. He can look at his lineage all the way back 2,000 years to the shepherds in Bethlehem. The other shock is that in today's world, these sort of occupation conditions on which restrict travel, which restrict employment, can still exist. And that's something that shocks them. But quite frankly, what I think our other objective is to get people to go and visit. It's fine for me to say these things. It's fine for me to show you pictures of the separation wall, to show you pictures of the conditions of the checkpoint, but go and see it yourself. it always surprises me. You touched upon something about it being a mythical place. I mean, we as Christians read from the Bible on a regular basis. We go to church on a Sunday and we hear about these places. Surely we should have the interest to go and see what these places look like today. They're not. It's not a mythical place.
No, to make these stories come alive and I know I was so impacted just going to the Red Sea, sitting on a boat. The sights, the smells, everything I could see really impacted me. The holy places to pray. Listen, I'm going to come back to you in a moment because there's something that I know that is really exciting that you are doing, which is School of Joy. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I want to bring in Adam now, who basically Adam is in charge of all the sort of strategic communications with this amazing organization. And I want to ask you about something which ties in with all this, because Harvest is really important, isn't it, Adam? Welcome very much to you, but tell us about the plans for Harvest.
Thanks, Sandra. And I think part of the reason that we're having this conversation is actually because this Harvest, we want to encourage churches, those churches and congregations and fellowships across the country who might go, as I'm listening to Brendan share, I didn't know about this. And actually, sometimes I think it is, as Brendan said, from that place that we need to pray. And we also need to be aware and to talk about. And so this Harvest, one of the things that Friends of the Holy Land is doing, which is something quite new for us as an organisation, is actually to try and say, there's a lot going on. We're well aware of the cost of living crisis that many of us are starting to feel and will certainly feel within the autumn. But also, there's a plight of our Christian brothers and sisters in the Holy Land that needs to be heard here in the UK. And so we're encouraging churches this Harvest to think about using their harvest, giving their harvest appeal, their harvest focus, to focus on the work of Friends of the Holy Land. And you might be sitting there thinking, why would you want to do such a thing? It's easier for us to think about what's going on locally. We could give to the work of our food banks, and they are amazingly worthy causes. So friends, please don't mishear me say, it's choose Friends of the Holy Land or your local food bank. But actually, we want to say that this conversation on what's going on in the Holy Land will not get elevated unless we intentionally elevate it. And so we are providing a place on our website, friendsoftheholyland.org.uk. We're going to provide a page on our website that's marked for Harvest. And basically, we're going to share some of this information and make it available so that churches can indeed get involved. And for us, what we'd love to see, our big vision, our big dream, Brendan and I are very much in agreement with here, is actually, people might think of Friends of the Holy Land and look at what we've done in the past and go, it's connected with particular types of churches. It's connected with the Catholic Church because it has its roots in there. It's connected with the Anglican Church. But actually, this is a whole church piece that we need to do. And so our challenge is basically to say to churches, this autumn, whether you do Harvest in September or October, or even later than that, would you consider making your financial appeal to highlight and support the work of our brothers and sisters in the Holy Land? That's what we are wanting to put in front of people. And there are churches I know, because I talk to church leaders, indeed I'm a church leader myself, who go, we haven't yet decided, even as we enter into September, we haven't yet decided what we're going to do. And so I want to put this challenge out to people and say, would you consider it? If you're a church leader watching and you want to get involved and you want to talk to us here at Friends of the Holy Land, we'd love to chat with you. If you're an individual or a member of a church who's responsible for helping bring things to the awareness of your church leaders, we want to help you. We this year focusing on one of our amazing projects, and it's the conversation that you've already seen, but I'm going to get Brendan just to remind us of the work, and that's the School of Joy. Actually, there is a real need to support young children, young people in the Holy Land. Sandra, I know that I'm going to, in a minute, you're going to share some of what your experiences were when we chatted with the students from School of Joy. But there's a real importance for us to shine a light on that work. And so, you know, we don't want churches to just give money into the main coffers of Friends of the Holy Land, as important as that is to keep our work going. But we also want to particularly be able to bless and support the work of School of Joy, because as we've chatted about it, as we've prayed about it, as we've thought about it, actually School of Joy is something that we think we need to shine a greater light on the work that's been done there. And Brendan, just for those of us who haven't yet watched the conversation that yourself, Sandra, and I had with the people at School of Joy, what is the School of Joy project?
Well, School of Joy is a very particular project. The School of Joy is a school for children with special needs. Now, these are children with a variety of special needs, both physical and mental, that have primarily arisen because of the conditions that are prevalent in the Bethlehem area. The school is based in the Shepherd's Field, Beit Sahur, and is run on a Christian with a Christian ethos by Father Mamdu Abishada, who is a Melkite priest, and his team. The School of Joy, though, helps children of all faiths and brings them from as far away as Hebron on a daily basis, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours drive. Now, these are children from the most vulnerable families. These are children that have officially been told to stay away from the public schools because, you know, the public schools are not able to cope with their special needs and they're disruptive in class. So if they were not to attend the School of Joy, their alternatives would be probably to be, you know, locked up at home by the family or left to wander the streets during the day. Now there's roughly 70 children at the school. Some of them have been there for many, many years. And as I say, they get therapy, they get some education, they get some training in how to be a useful member of society, and they get a good meal at least once a day. Because again, these are coming from the most vulnerable of families. And Sandra, I mean, you were on that conversation recently. I mean, how did you find the children at School of Joy?
Oh my gosh, well, if I could have virtually picked them up and just given them a hug through the screens, I would have. I actually don't know what I was expecting. The fact that actually most of them could speak some kind of English was mind-boggling. And just their fun and their kind of carefree attitude. They clearly loved Father that was there. It was just, you know, they clearly is a family network, which must have taken a lot of time to develop because those kids were oozing the fact that they belonged there. And you could tell they felt safe because they were just tugging each other and playing around, going off camera, on camera. And I just thought, I want to join in with the fun. They were singing. There was I don't think they danced, but there's certainly a bit of singing which I thought, oh, I could get into this. But for me, just seeing their joy, and I kind of think that the school does what it says on the tin. It is a school of joy, and when you can see that in the kids, genuine joy, genuine fun, then you know it's something authentic. And the little bits that are getting into their lives and their brains, each day is working. Something is changing and challenging them. And I thought it was a real amazing opportunity to spend just a few minutes with them. I was just humbled more than anything. But they welcomed me. They said some nice things. And I loved it. I loved it. Brilliant kids. I love children. And to see them like that, being cared for as a mother, it was really, really moving. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. It was absolutely superb. It wasn't, you could tell it wasn't staged. They were being themselves. And they genuinely wanted to just be happy in front of the camera. Yeah, I think there's a few stars in that school. You never know.
Well, you never know. And you know, I like to say that they have, some of the children have been there 5, 6, 7 years. They do their very best at the school to give them a skill that they can translate into some kind of employment for the future. And so to give you an idea, School of Joy at the moment, we are the only charity supporting it. It's the only facility in that part of the West Bank. But because of the pandemic, there's some other smaller charities that helped fell away. They weren't able to maintain their support. And the School of Joy used to get donations from pilgrims who visited, but of course there's been no pilgrims for 2 years. So, you know, every child at School of Joy, our budget to support them is roughly £1,500 a year. That's the cost of keeping them in that facility, which is so important to them and to their families. So anything you can do to help us keep the School of Joy going forward in its mission, I would be very, very grateful for any help you can give.
And I would just want to echo there what Brendan said. You know, we've really felt, as we are thinking about Harvest this year, we've really honed down on, you know, we could have shown you a whole range of projects, and if you continue to engage with the conversations that Sandra, Brendan and I are having with our literal friends of the Holy Land, they're shining a light on some of our projects, you will hear about the amazing work and the amazing projects that Friends of the Holy Land do. And it's just amazing for us to be able, like Sandra, I don't think, even just trying to describe the conversations that we've had already. We've chatted to Layla, we're going to chat to people from St Martha's House later in the autumn. We've got a whole range of people to share with you. But for Harvest this year, because it's important that we invest into these children's lives, really massively important. And so that's why we are raising a standard and asking churches across the UK, as we go into this autumn, would you help support the work of School of Joy? You know, could you share this conversation? Would you share this conversation on your social media feeds? You know, not just let it stay on the Friends of the Holy Land, not just let it stay on our YouTube channel, but actually share this out to people and say, you know, give this a look, give this a try. As I said before, we're really keen to try and connect with new churches, new individuals, those who've not yet start to put a flag in the ground and say, you know, it's important that we raise the plight of our Christian brothers and sisters. Did you know that the number of Christians in the Holy Land is diminishing significantly? But also there's work that needs to be done. There's work that needs to be done to support people. That's what the volunteer team is about. So I want to encourage you, if you're watching this via our website, hello, but if you haven't yet, go to the website, Friends of the Holy Land, friendsoftheholyland.org.uk. I always need to make sure I get it right. friendsoftheholyland.org.uk, and click on the link that says Harvest. Click that link. Let us know that you're taking part. Let us know what you're doing. You know, every single penny. Sometimes people in churches, particularly as we come back from a pandemic, go, well, what does my small gift do? Your small gift added up with other people adding their small gifts does an awful lot. And as Brendan said in this conversation, you know, let's also never underestimate prayer. You know, let's not underestimate the importance of prayer. We're putting out this call, we're putting out this challenge. I know that there are churches who are yet not decided, you're not yet involved with choosing their harvest. But indeed, you may be a church or a congregation or a fellowship that doesn't normally do harvest. You know, if this is linked to your harvest appeal, fantastic. If this is just an excuse because you've watched this conversation and you're seeing what we're putting out as we have these conversations, and particularly the conversation that we had with School of Joy, and you're thinking, do you know what? I need to do something here. Now is an opportune moment. And I say it with all sincerity. Now is the moment to do it. You know, sometimes we can sit there and go, I'll come back to this later. I might give this a thought when other people will be thinking about the Holy Land at Christmas. Don't wait till Christmas. We've got other stuff we want to tell you about at Christmas. This is the moment to put your mark in the sand and say, now I want to start the journey. Because actually for me, as I've been part of Friends of the Holy Land, and Sandra, I'm going to ask you the same question. I hope the answer is yes, but you know, I'll ask you too. As I've been involved in the work of Friends of the Holy Land, I am changed, because as I talk to Layla, there's conversations that go on behind the recordings that we do. As I talk and interact with those that are working at School of Joy in some of our other projects, I am changed. And so our prayer is actually that you will be changed by engaging with Friends of the Holy Land. You know, this is our passion. This is what we do. Sandra, I mean, you've been changed, haven't you, by the conversations, not just with School of Joy, but also with Layla.
Oh gosh, yeah. And she's a woman. She's like me. She's female. She's on the front line. She's in the sort of whole tourism area and sort of meeting people face to face. And I think for her, the honor to keep telling the story over and over again in an authentic way, to me, is a huge tribute to her. She's not color washing it. She's not exaggerating it. It's a real story of, I'm here hearing how people are responding to just being in these spaces. I remember asking her, what's it like? Do you watch the reaction of people when they go to places like the Garden of Gethsemane? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? And she was able to just describe that. And I think for her, there's a secret kind of smile in their heart that she's able to just be part of opening up these stories to people. It's a massive, massive, massive pleasure. So yes, I'm having those conversations, still having those conversations. I brought back with me from the Garden of Gethsemane, I forgot to bring it with me tonight, today, a little branch, a little twig from the garden, because it wasn't what I expected. And I think, Brendan, that's probably part of what I want to get over to people. It's not often what you expect. You kind of have this idea of what it will look like and feel like and smell like. I sat in the Garden of Gethsemane with these trees. First of all, I didn't realize there was trees in there for a start. What are all these trees doing here? And it was just this open space in the middle of this bustling area of the town. And I just took a moment to find a corner and took a twig and said, I'm going to take that back home. I still got it now on my windowsill, just to remember the Garden of Gethsemane. And then sitting there thinking, where did you sit, Jesus? When you know the sweat was pouring down your forehead, where did you sit? What did you see? What? Because there are walls that surround it, which I didn't even realize were there. So you really do need to think about this. This is my appeal, my personal appeal. You know, you might want to give a little bit later. Perhaps you need to visit the place first and actually stand in those spaces. And I think your heart will open up to give, not just financially, but just give of your time. This is the real deal. You sit on a boat on the Sea of Galilee and you look out and you think about how Jesus saw the fishermen, how he walked on the water. Really? And you just get lost in those stories. So I think every Christian during their journey needs to plan, whether they do it at the beginning of their journey or later on in life because of the cost. Somewhere in your life fits the moment where you're going to go to where these stories come alive, and it will change you to give, but it will change you to live for Christ more. So that's my little appeal. Sorry, I've added that on, but I just thought it was important.
Absolutely not. I mean, and you know, those trees you're talking about,
yes,
some of them are more than 2,000 years old. So they were there at the time of Christ. I mean, I've not met anybody who has visited whose life and faith has not been changed by the visit. And I think that's the key thing also. I mean, we've talked about School of Joy. They will open their doors. I mean, our brothers and sisters in the Holy Land are always very welcoming, because they're not able to travel much themselves. So, you know, they love to see people because they don't want to feel forgotten. Mm. So, you know, if you were to go and visit, Father Mamdu and the children of School of Joy would be happy to see you. And some of our others, people involved in our other projects, would be happy to welcome you into their home. And you can meet these descendants from these founding communities of our faith. You know, it's a wonderful, I think it's a wonderful experience that everybody should do, at least, as you say, at least once in their lifetime. Yeah. And there's so much to see. I know many people who go every year.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Brendan, tell us about, here's something exciting, Coventry Cathedral. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, okay, so, you know, we have great and wonderful support in the Midlands, and particularly from Bishop Christopher at the Diocese of Coventry. And obviously, you know, Coventry Cathedral's mission is all to do with peace and reconciliation around the world through its Cross of Nails and Reconciliation Ministry. So on September the 21st, which is the United Nations International Day of Peace, we've organized an ecumenical service at Coventry Cathedral, which is taking place at 5:15 in the evening in the cathedral, and everybody is welcome. We're going to remember the Christians in the Holy Land. We're going to pray for peace and reconciliation, and we're going to pray and hope and sing. Some of us, I'm not a brilliant singer, but sing hymns of celebration and of support. Because again, I mean, the Christians in the Holy Land always tell me, please don't forget us when you go home, because they get drowned out by events around the world, what is happening in that place. Now at Coventry, we are very, very fortunate in that Bishop Christopher himself will help us lead the service, and he will be joined by Archbishop Bernard Longley, who is the Catholic Archbishop of Birmingham. So we'll have both of them at the service. We'll have a choir, and we will have hopefully a wonderful time of prayer, reflection, and singing. And after the service, there will be a short reception and some light refreshments. And anybody who wishes to can ask me whatever they would like about our mission and about how we impact the lives of these people, how we make a direct change. I mean, one thing I want to emphasize that makes Friends of the Holy Land a little bit different than other charities is that we are registered as a charity in Bethlehem with the Palestinian Authority. And that means we can have an office there. We have some staff there, some social workers, and we have our own bank account. So when people donate to us, I like to say it goes directly to the coalface. And what do I mean by that? We get people coming to our office every day. You know, I need an operation. I can't afford my heart medicine. I have a child who is unwell. I need help with the school fees. And we can help those people directly. We don't work through any agency. So it's very much low cost and very much directly from the communities in the UK to the communities in the Holy Land. And I think that's something that is very different. We may be a small charity, but I'm not aware of any other UK-based charity that does work in the area that has that facility, that is registered locally as a charity.
It sounds incredible. I literally can't wait to go there one day. And you just mentioned the cathedral service, which is highly important for our region and the country as well. I'm going to be there as well, which I'm really excited about. Just remind everybody of the date, please, Brendan.
It's the 21st of September, and it's at 5:15 in the early evening, and that's a Wednesday. Everybody is most welcome, and after the, if you've come straight from work, after the service there will be some light refreshments to tide you over till you get home. But please, everybody, join us, pray with us, sing with us, and let us pray and help and raise awareness and remember our friends in the Holy Land. On our own website, we do have more information at friendsoftheholyland.org.uk/Coventry. So we have a specific page for it. We have a phone number and an email address if people want to ask and find out more. And don't quote me, but we even have information on where you can park.
Wow, fully loaded.
I'm looking forward, Brendan, just to find out where in Coventry I can park, because there's all sorts of, I mean, Sandra, you live and work in the city of Coventry. You are on BBC CWR, and I know from when we talk, trying to know exactly where to park for cheapness is something that's sometimes difficult. But I do just want to, we're going to come to an end in a moment, but I just want to say, you are really welcome to the service on the 21st. Come and join us. Come and join us in the cathedral. But also, I want to encourage you again to consider, genuinely please consider, taking up the challenge that we're putting before you. Brendan has laid out the heart behind Friends of the Holy Land, and that's why it's really important that you catch the heart of why we do what we do. Friends of the Holy Land has a unique place in terms of its interface with Christians actually in the Holy Land. And that's why, we do what we do. And we want to invite you to become part of that journey, You might be saying, do you know what? I don't live too far away from Coventry. come and join us in the cathedral. Come and join us to pray. You know, there's going to be a bit of refreshment. So for nothing else, you'll at least have a nice refreshment session at the end. And you might even be able to get to meet the Cardinal Archbishop of Birmingham. So, you know, there is a reason to come. But, you know, you may well be saying, you know, as a result of this, my heart is burning within me to want to do something, just merely as an individual. You know, I want you to go back and champion this in your churches if you're able to. But, you know, you might well be just thinking, I want to become a regular giver. Again, I can only give a small amount, but like was said, all of our small gifts combined together work to enable us to achieve much. So if you want to consider becoming a monthly giver, a monthly supporter of the work of Friends of the Holy Land, Brendan, where exactly do they go?
They go to friendsoftheholyland.org.uk, and they will see a big red button which says donate. And once they're on that page, they have the option to either make a single gift or to set up a regular gift. And if that's not, if they don't want to do it online, they can call the office number, which is on the website, which is 01926 512 980, or they can email us and we'll get in touch with them.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. I'm going to wrap things up now. What an amazing conversation we've had. I hope for all our listeners there's been some excitement, a bit of a challenge as well. Listen, the next time you read your Bible, maybe later on today, just ask God, you know, how can I make these stories come alive? And I'm sure the opportunity will be there for you to come and join us, come and join Friends of the Holy Land, to go and actually see where these stories are based, and you never know what will happen from there. Anyway, it's a really lovely honor to have been able to host this. Thank you so much to you, Adam, and thank you so much, Brendan, as well. We're looking forward to meeting you guys at Coventry Cathedral. You take care. Any questions that you want to ask, then just contact us, but have a wonderful remainder of your day. Thank you for joining us.